Welcome to this next session of the Touch the Sound, a special series to look at techniques and sounds that we create on our percussion instruments. Today, we're going to talk about beating spot. So let's jump in with the concert bass drum. For the concert bass drum, the first thing I consider is my position of my body. I'm going to approach the drum at an angle. This allows my shoulders and my forearms to stay relaxed while I'm playing into the drum. My left hand will have this black towel, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So in talking about beating spot, I want to note that you'll see that I don't often use the words bad or wrong. Today is talking about where we can look at the different parts of the drum and create different colors and timbres, not thinking about spots as right or wrong. Let's start off by striking the edge. That sound is distant. I'm not striking it hard, so it's also soft and light. Now I'm going to strike the drum in the center, and I'm going to apply my towel. The center of the bass drum is a node. That spot is punchy and very articulate. Next, I'm going to strike about 6 inches off the center of the drum. That spot has the most free resonance and allows the drum and all of its spectrum of overtones to be heard. So near the edge, I might call that color wispy and far and distant. The center, dry and articulate. Reinforced even more with my towel. And then slightly off center, a long tone, full and resonant. And then the length of that tone this time, I'll change with the use of my towel. A light muffle shortens the length of the tone. Now, when rolling on the bass drum, some of the same principles can come into play. If I want to just key a nice open roll, then I'll be 6 inches off the center with both mallets. And if my roll starts soft and piano, then I may start off near the edges. To increase the volume, I'll move in towards the center. So, being attentive to beating spots can create a wide range of color on the concert bass drum. Now the next instrument we can look at quickly is the snare drum. This snare drum I have leaning forward so that you can see it while I'm doing this demonstration. My normal playing position is that it's flat and parallel to the ground. Now many times you've probably heard from teachers, play near the edge to play soft. And it can be true that we play near the edge to play soft, but we don't necessarily want to make that always our default for soft. I can play in the center and have a different color on the drum, and with a little bit of practice, play very soft in the center. I can play slightly off center and get a different tone and timbre from the drum. And then when I go to the edge, I'm thinking similar to the bass drum, where my sound may be distant and wispy. So I save it for color as much as I do if I'm trying to also make an adjustment in volume. Timpani is much like the concert bass drum. We have particular sounds that are in the center and the edge, and then we have a beating spot that creates a full, rich sound. Let's start with the edge now. Like the bass drum, that can be thin and distant. And then the center, or the node of the timpani, is extremely dry and percussive. Now the difference is, we're going to think off from the edge when we look for that rich open beating spot, different from bass drum where we were coming from the center. So I'm just going to go 3 to 4 inches off the edge of the timpani. That spot creates the widest spectrum of overtones. But if you want your sound to become slightly more dry or articulate, we move towards the center. And if we want our sound to be softer and more distant, then we move towards the edge. Different colors. Now, seeing that that beating spot is quite particular, we need to find a way to be consistent in our playing. That takes practice, but I also advocate for using a stool, especially for our taller students. That stool will get the body in a more healthy position with better posture, but more consistent when we're grounded with the stool and can come back to a regular beating spot based on being in a seated position. Now let's move lastly to a keyboard percussion instrument, in this case the vibraphone. Now we know that the keyboard percussion instruments have a node that occurs right over the chord. That's a very thin sound. The other node is in the dead center of the bar. Slightly off center creates a wider spectrum of sound. So being aware of these sounds can be definitely valuable. One, in what you do want to do to create a particular sound, and then maybe avoiding certain things. I tell my students often that they should choreograph what they do on the instrument to make sure that they're aware of where they're beating in each note that they play. Another beating spot we often use is on the edge, closest to us and away from the chord. Know that the place on that edge that creates the sound most similar to the center is near the far edge of that bar. So I tell my students that they're aiming for the edge, because any movement closer to the note or the chord thins up that sound in a particular way that may not be desirable when doing the musical performance. So being aware of beating spot on the bar can create a variety of sounds, and you want to be consistent with where you choose to hit or choreograph where you're going to strike on the bar. Well, we hope that this session didn't beat around the bush in any way. But most importantly, as always, remember to play with purpose and have fun.